What if we could learn from outstanding leaders in business, sports, and education from some of the best voices in corporate America? Lighting the Path is a series of interviews with industry leaders whose stories highlight strategies that build purpose-driven cultures, engage and retain top talent, develop drivers that create high-performance teams, and connect people to the vision of your company. Join us to hear from game-changing, talented leaders whose paths make a difference at work and at home.
I'm excited about today's guest on strategies for tomorrow's leaders. I've been looking forward to today because I got a chance to meet Karl Mecklenburg, a few years back because of my involvement with the National Speakers Association. And Karl's message just spoke to me because of his journey in his life to get where he was to where he is today. Some of you will recognize the name from his background in NFL sports as an all-star, all-pro with the Denver Broncos, played with
Tecmo Bowl. I'm the man on Tecmo Bowl. There's a whole generation of people who know me as the Tecmo Bowl guy.
Tecmo Bowl guy. I love that thing. But if you're in Denver and you drive by Mile High Stadium, you'll see his name on the side of it as part of their elite group. And today's message, I think, is so important for today's time. That's why I asked Karl to come and join me today. Karl, welcome. It's good seeing you again, my friend.
Good. Great to see you, Mike. Yeah. This is fun. Thanks for asking me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I just, for those people may have not known of your background, I love getting a chance to talk to somebody like yourself who played professional sports, specifically at what's considered to be rarefied air. I mean, at an all-pro level. But when we've talked before, you look at your experience with the Broncos. Every person on the team, all right, was a world-class athlete. It took that kind of talent just to get in there.
Of course, yeah.
And what I love about your background is that you were really highly recruited right out of high school into college and was one of the first picks in the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, right. No, I was a JV player as a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Didn't make the varsity. I was I went to a little Division II school on a 1/3 scholarship. Went to Augustana College in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, on a 1/3 scholarship, which they took away after 2 years. So I left and I walked down at the University of Minnesota. I earned a scholarship there. We were not very good my senior year. We were 3-8. We won our first 3, but we had so many injuries because of the brand new Metrodome, which they've torn down. The Metrodome was brand new, and then the turf was terrible. So we had a bunch of injuries, didn't have any depth. So we were 3-8. So I never got to rush the passer, and that was really my deal. I was the 310th pick of the NFL draft, 20 guys away from Mr. Irrelevant, a 12th round draft pick. And came to Denver as a 240-pound nose guard, which don't really exist in the NFL.
No.
But amazingly enough, our coaching staff saw past that, saw that I was a very technically sound pass rusher. And I made the team as a pass rusher and a special teams player. A couple years in, there was a need at linebacker, and they switched me to linebacker. The rest was history. I ended up making the Pro Bowl that year as an All-Pro linebacker. And then they started using me all over the place. I played all 7 defensive front positions. There were games I played all 7 positions
in one game, right? In one game. I want to talk about that just for a second. To me, that's beyond my mental comprehension, because you have 7 different positions you have to play. You have to make adjustments with each one. And were there any of the positions that you were asked to play that you went, you got to play that one?
I gotta go over there. Depends on who I was lined up against in a coverage situation. I still had the speed of a nose guard, which made coverage a little tricky. The first step is great, but if they run, more than 20 yards, I'm in trouble. So we. That was another great thing about the leadership on the Broncos. To me, leadership is understanding what your people are capable of, getting to know them well enough to understand that, and then putting them in positions to be successful. So if I happened to be stuck out on the edge with a really fast coverage guy, the safeties knew they better help
have your back.
right. So and we were coached to do that, and that's the great thing about playing with a team, that you can cover for each other's weaknesses. You know what they're capable of, your teammates are capable of. You let them do their thing, and if it goes south, you know where it's going to go south, and you help them.
Yeah, and so if you look at this, I was thinking about that in preparation for our time together today, is that what it took is you took a lot of physical talent to be able to make those kind of adjustments. But I would think that it took more than physical talent. It took mental adjustment to be able to from position to position.
Well, your introduction to me, it was absolutely true. I mean, everybody on that field is a world-class athlete. There's no question about that. The difference between an all-pro player and a guy who is 52nd on the roster is mental. You have to prepare in a way that you know exactly what to do, and then you have to allow yourself to do it. And I think that's where most of the athletes run into trouble. They want to look and see again and make sure, and it's too late. If you don't go, it's too late. And part of that is fear of failure. I didn't know what I was doing. And when they switched me to linebacker, that's a completely different position. You're standing up, you got to see the whole field. You got to go backwards on purpose sometimes. I mean, it's just a completely different thing. So they taught me what to do. I did what they asked me to do. And like I said, things took off. So yeah, it's a mental game, and each step of the way. I think one of the reasons people think it's the best athlete wins in the NFL is because that's how it was in middle school. That's how it was in high school. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much how it is in college too, because they don't have enough meeting time to adjust things and change things week to week. So you put in your system, you play your system. It doesn't matter who your opponent is. In the NFL, it changes. We had 120 different defenses, each with adjustments based on your opponent, and it was a mental challenge. That was the game, is mental. Yeah,
and so if you look at this, you and I were talking. It's there's a 4-step process. If you look at your career, going all the way back to high school, college, in the pros, that you've identified that really separate what I call the wannabes to the gonna-bes, the people who want to do great versus the people who really perform well. That is true, whether you're on the football field or you're in sales or you're in customer service or you're in any role or even in your family. And the first one we talked about was the importance of I think you call it preparation.
Yeah. It's the all-pro mentality. You got to prepare thoroughly, go and prepare to win. And I think the greatest example I remember in my career of that was Peyton Manning. When Peyton Manning came into the Denver Broncos, and Peyton Manning's a lot younger than me. I remember the first time I met him. I mean, it was at a golf event at the Super Bowl. They have these at every Super Bowl, and they bring in some old guys who are retired, and then they bring in the new guys who are just getting drafted. And so Peyton's coming out of Tennessee. He comes up to me, Mr. Mecklenburg, I love what you did for the Broncos. You had over 1,000 tackles. You were a defensive captain. You had more sacks than anybody in the history of the team at one point. And then he started talking about my college career at the University of Minnesota. Peyton was 2 years old when I played college football at the University of Minnesota. But what he had done is he had gone to the library, I guess, because there wasn't any way to look you up on Google back then, and studied up on us. And it was amazing that he, even in that situation, took the time to prepare. And that was him. I don't know if you got to watch his retirement speech, but he went back to it repeatedly, at least 5 times. Nobody's going to out-prepare me. That's what made him great. I mean, when he came to the Broncos, he had a broken neck he had fixed. His hand was partially numb. He couldn't throw the ball 35 yards, but he ended up having more passing yards that year than anybody in the history of the league. So, I mean, preparation is so vital. If you want to be decisive, if you want to move when it's time to move, the only way to do it is through preparation.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing you talk about is there's two forms of preparation, right? There's the physical preparation. You got to prepare your body, you got to prepare your technique, you got to prepare, learn or what have you. But the other part of it is mental preparation.
Yeah.
Does anything that you learned to get mentally prepared to, I'll just call it step into battle, because football players are always deemed as gladiators, but
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, you watch film. I mean, you sit in that film room much longer than you actually do practice on the field. You're watching what their tendencies are, what their down and distance tendencies are, what their formation tendencies are. If you're a 300-pound lineman, if you want to go forward, you got to lean forward. You can't do it from any other. If you're going to go backwards, you got to show it. And you look and you figure out what their keys are, what they're showing, and you take advantage of that when you're on the field. And again, the preparation is great. And I know there are a lot of people who work hard daily to prepare, but then the next step is actually letting yourself go, trusting yourself, not having that fear of failure where, oh no, here we go again type thing. It's when it's time to go. Not going is always wrong. Even if you take a first step in the wrong direction, at least you're learning that it's the wrong direction. If you don't take a step, you don't learn anything. So for me, that decisiveness is really my career. Being able to take that first step.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's try to transpose this. All right, because you came out of for those of you who are just experiencing Karl for the first time, you went from being a highly regarded, literally renowned professional football player, and today you are a keynote speaker, does both education, motivation. You come in to work with companies and be able to launch brands and do all kinds of stuff. I mean, that's you made that migration.
Sure.
And so my question is that when you work with companies, all right, and you look at this principle of preparation, okay, and then stepping from preparation to that place of like get in the game, move, take action. How do you transpose that? When you think about this and you think about the companies you worked with and tried to deliver messages, how did you help them see that there? Because they're not in Mile High Stadium.
No, they're not in Mile High Stadium, but every decision you make through the day is vital. When it's time to negotiate, you got to know when it's time to negotiate. You have to understand where that company you're selling to or you're working alongside is coming from, and the only way you can do that is through preparation. If there's other people in your company who have worked with that group, older people, find a mentor, find somebody who you can work alongside. When I got to the Denver Broncos, there were they called them the Orange Crush. They were the 1977-78 AFC champions, lost in the nail biter to the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, and just an unbelievable group of defensive players. Now the owner of the team was trying to sell the team, so we had 14 rookies make it my rookie year. He was trying to make it so the salaries were lower. It looked better on paper to sell the team, and instead of being upset about that, these guys really took us under their wings and taught us how to be not only football players, but taught us how to be men. And it was an amazing example of people putting the team first instead of worrying about their own stuff. And so I think that's really the crux of success within a team is that passing on institutional knowledge and moving forward as a team rather than being completely wrapped up in your own stuff. And that's a challenge I think and a balancing act that everybody deals with.
Challenged you, or if you want to spend time digging into this subject a little deeper, or if you disagree with me, reach out. My contact information is on our website, lightingthepath.net, or email me at mike@mikelejeune.com. Also, look for me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect our networks. Keep lighting the path for those who choose to follow you. It's more than a responsibility. It's an honor.